What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm here today with my final video in my video series for the K-drama Navillera. I'm gonna talk about both episodes and then give you my final thoughts. So enough with this intro, let's get right into episode 11. So after the whole incident that takes place in episode 10 with Mr. Shim going missing for a while, the whole family basically now knows about his condition. And the kids of Mr. Shim all hold this family meeting and try to decide what to do. And I just really like how the family is coming together, and I think that was a big theme of this episode, of everybody coming together to surround and support Mr. Shim as he makes this final push for this performance. So during this meeting, they're trying to decide, well, who's gonna take care of him? Who's gonna take him in? And Yunho steps in and says, hey, shouldn't he be the one to decide? Shouldn't we be asking him? And I get what she's saying, but aren't they also trying to not tell Mr. Shim that they know yet and wait for him to say it on his own? Because if they're doing that, then they can't really ask him about whose house he wants to be at when his condition gets worse. But yeah, I really like the sentiment. And then of course later she does that really sweet thing where she calls into her own radio show and gives Mr. Shim that message, encouraging him and offering him her support. And of course Chae-rock counts as family, so I just love what he says to Mr. Shim in this episode as well. He says he'll stand by him, and even if Mr. Shim doesn't remember him, he'll remember Mr. Shim. It's just really sweet. It's really heartfelt. And it's just so funny how Chae-rock has turned from being this kind of tsundere anime character into being this worried parent slash mother hen. Like, he asked Mr. Shim to text him every 20 minutes, and then when Mr. Shim is starting to practice with the rest of the ballet group after he's made the audition, he's kind of just hovering there and like, do you need anything? Do you need me to stay? And Mr. Shim has to be like, dude, I got it. It's cool. I got this. And in general, I just love how everyone around Mr. Shim is just coming together and helping him out, showing their support in their own ways. We can't forget Mrs. Shim, who is incredibly supportive, and of course Mr. Shim himself, who is working really hard at not just his ballet, but also fighting his Alzheimer's and trying to keep it in check. An example of him doing both at the same time is when he goes jogging. He's working out and staying in shape for his ballet, but he also is mentally in his own head going over all these things he's trying to remember from the day before and keeping score as a way to train his memory. And yeah, everything just seems to be coming together. Everyone's supporting him. He's working hard, and it's just great to see. Okay, then we've got the redemption arc of kind of a dick dad dude, who I think it's pretty safe to say we have to take off the kind of a dick part in his title, and he's just dad dude now. So there's this catastrophe at work. I don't understand the exact money business stuff, but some stuff happens that's bad, and he gets blamed for it by his boss, and he's just really depressed. Things are looking bad, but then he gets some great support from his dad, Mr. Shim, who sends him a baseball glove, and then we get the whole flashback backstory of how he wanted to play baseball and how he used to be good, but then he had to give it up. And so we see that the baseball glove now symbolizes a lot for him, and that Mr. Shim is there to support him, and that he's just basically the best dad in the whole world. I also love that his wife is there to support him, and he has a really great talk with her, and a very therapeutic talk. You could almost say he had a consultation with her. Who knew she was so good at that if he just let her? But yeah, it's a great talk, and he just resolves to quit because fuck it, he doesn't want to do this anymore. He's hung in there for a really long time and done what he had to do, but now, not necessarily that he's gonna go play baseball now, but he's gonna go do something else that he chooses, that he really wants to do, whatever that is. Much like his daughter. He even changes up his hairstyle, so yeah, he's made a full transformation. He goes and thanks Chae-rock personally. He has the fuck you, I'm quitting classic moment with his boss, and yeah, I think his redemption arc is complete. This guy's completely turning it around. All right, so then we had Mr. Shim's audition. This kind of happened pretty fast. Like, there wasn't that much build up to it. I guess Mr. Shim was a little late, so there was some suspense there, but then he just shows up and he performs and it goes well and he gets picked. I'm not complaining about that, don't get me wrong. And now that I think about it, it's probably because they just want to get to the main performance in the last episode in the finale, and that they're really going to build up. But this was still really awesome. I loved his performance, and sorry to you other guys that tried out. Mr. Shim's obviously the GOAT. And again, I just love Che-Rock smiling in the background like a proud father. So now that Mr. Shim has made the audition, he is going to perform on stage with the rest of the ballet group, and they're trying to decide what he's going to do for his performance. Originally, he wants to do a solo, and then I really love the talk Mr. Key has with his ex-wife, and then his idea to have Mr. Shim do a duet with Che-Rock. It's just completely perfect. It represents everything the show has built up over all of these episodes. This duet, when they dance on stage, it's going to be this communication through dance of their relationship, their friendship, of them having each other's back, of Che-Rock teaching him and showing him the way, but also Mr. Shim teaching Che-Rock and showing him the way about life, and it's just so perfect. I cannot wait for this final performance. Teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah, I just can't wait. And the date is set, the tickets are out, Navillera, whatever, the show is on, everyone's getting their invitations, and I'm just so ready for the whole family to show out, and everyone's getting an invite, even the doctor, even Blondie, everyone who's been a part of this story and helped these two along the way. Of course, Che-Rock invites his own dad, and yeah, it's just gonna make for a really great finale and a great performance. Okay, so before I get to the ending of this episode, I just quickly, of course, have to go over everyone else. So we get a little bit more on Blondie. He's working out and he gets some advice from Mr. Shim to just go for it, go for the tryout, even if he doesn't feel he's ready yet, which is cool. Che-Rock's friend sees him there, and Che-Rock even comes and gives Blondie a present from his dad, and also, of course, gives him the invitation to the show. And yeah, it seems like as far as redemptions, Blondie's on his way too. He's forging his own path, getting back on track with his soccer stuff, and it's great to see. And then we also have Che-Rock and his dad, and they seem like they're on the right path now too. Che-Rock has invited him to the show, of course, and the dad seems like he's ready to be there and be there for Che-Rock in the long run. He apologizes to Che-Rock for everything in the past, but Che-Rock is just like, dude, whatever, just be there for me from now on. And I think that's beautiful, and I think that's great. Again, Yun-Ho, I mean, yeah, she was in this episode, and she's just kind of there to support. And I know I'm saying this in every video now, but I hope we at least get something in the finale of her finding something that she wants to do, or finding some kind of thing. Maybe the radio station works out, maybe something else comes up. But yeah, I guess it's because the show had her featured so heavily in the earlier episodes. I thought she was gonna play a bigger role than she has lately. Okay, now let's get to the ending. And of course, I was just getting the feeling the whole episode, right? Like everything is going perfectly. Everything's coming together. He passes the audition. Everyone's coming together and singing Kumbaya and all that shit. And you just knew it. The light flickering, the street light flickering on and off, symbolizing Mr. Shim's memory, and then it just shuts off aggressively. And oh man, that was the first hit, right? He kind of just zones out right in front of his house, and then the police come, and then Mrs. Shim has to come out and get him, and he remembers her, and he's like, oh, of course I know you. And her like, okay, whew, that was pretty bad, but okay, fine. He got back, and of course he still recognizes his wife, and okay, great. But then we get the final scene when he wakes up the next morning, and like, I gotta be honest with you guys, at first when Mrs. Shim was asking him to wake up, I thought he was gonna like be dead or something, but then he's like, oh shit, yeah, I'm awake. But then he gets up and looks at his wife, and he does not recognize her. He says, who are you? And oh man, they have to do this, right? Like this is appropriate in terms of storytelling, right? They need to give us this cliffhanger, this suspense, this feeling of uncertainty going into this last episode. We can't just have episode 11 be all happy and perfect, and then episode 12 is perfect too. The happy ending we deserve could very well still be coming. But yeah, they needed to bring us back to reality, right? Because Alzheimer's is Alzheimer's. It's not unexpected that this could get worse. We knew it might get worse at any time, but it's just so heartbreaking to see him not remember his wife in that moment. And I'm sure he'll recover from that during the next episode. But yeah, that's tough. Okay, guys, that's it for episode 11. Let's get right into the finale, and then, of course, my final thoughts on the show overall. Okay, episode 12, the finale. What can I say except that I loved it? Of course, it was a little predictable, but with these kind of shows, it's really not an issue for me. I don't care if it's predictable. It was deserved, it was earned, and I really enjoyed this show. It's one of my favorite shows I've seen recently. So let's just go over some key moments in this episode. First, I love how Mr. Shim in the beginning of the episode remembers everything, and it all comes back to him because of Che-Rock and recognizing him and the footage. I knew that was going to come in handy, and it did, and it was just great. Then when he's still trying to remember the actual routine right before the performance, I mean, the episode does a good job at building up the appropriate amount of suspense and uncertainty. I mean, I think we all knew he was gonna do okay in the end, but still, I appreciated the effort to make it seem like there's higher stakes. And when everyone else didn't believe he could go up there, even Mr. Shim didn't think he was gonna be able to do it, I just love how Che-Rock was there for him and told him that you can do this. He fought for Mr. Shim, fought for him to still perform, and told him that, hey, your muscles, your body will remember everything that you learned. And that whole scene with their performance was just everything that I imagined. Everyone was there, everyone came. Of course, the whole family was there. Che-Rock's friend was there. Even Blondie pulls up. The doctor was there. Of course, Che-Rock's dad. And shout out to this extra who looked straight at the fucking camera in this shot right here. But yeah, I just love that everyone showed up and everyone who was part of this whole story and this whole journey was there and appreciated the performance. Che-Rock and Mr. Shim were just looking super drippy, and it was just awesome. And yeah, I love how they keep with this uncertainty even while they're actually already on stage. Like, Mr. Shim just freezes up for that moment, and it looks like this is all gonna go to shit, and then he remembers back on the times he shared with Che-Rock, and I just love how he didn't remember the actual moves, right? It's not like he remembered, oh, this is the move here, this is the move there. He remembers it because he remembers the times he shared with Che-Rock. He remembers their friendship, and that's what gets him to come back to the present and gets him to remember everything and be able to perform. And everyone's reaction while they're performing is amazing, but I think we've got to give the first prize to Blondie. He probably had the best reaction out of everyone. I just love how Che-Rock holds Mr. Shim's hand, both literally and symbolically, how he's been doing it through the whole show, and it's just perfect. Okay, so let's just go over all the ending stuff. So it looks like Mr. Shim is eventually gonna go to a nursing home, but even though he makes that decision before the time jump, it seems that after the time jump, he's still at home with his wife, and they're just managing as best they can. So then we have the other characters' endings. Mr. Key's ending was that he proposed to his ex-wife again, and then after the time jump, it's confirmed that they're husband and wife again, and they've opened their own ballet studio or whatever, and he's taking all types of students now, so he's obviously been inspired by Mr. Shim, and yeah, to just be more accepting and be a better coach. I like Songkwan's ending as well. He doesn't become a filmmaker, but he does go back to the hospital, but for a good reason. He has a renewed sense, a renewed purpose for why he wants to be a doctor, and I think that's really cool. He wants to give people more time to do the things that they love and be the people that they have been their whole lives. Yunho's ending, yeah, I'm glad for her that she liked the radio station thing and that it's fulfilling to her, and I'm kind of torn about it because on the one hand, I just feel like there should have been, I think she deserved a little more screen time during the episodes, and I know it's hard because they have to juggle everything, but I wish they would have maybe just provided a bit more evidence that she was really enjoying the radio station thing. The actual scenes of her at the radio station, I didn't see anything where she was like, oh man, this is awesome. It was just kind of her being there, and she told other people, like her mom, that she was enjoying it, I think. But yeah, at the end, she kind of just does some exposition and explains like, hey, it's not my dream, but it's exciting every day and I enjoy it and it's fine. And I think that's why I'm torn, because on the other hand, that is a good message, right? Is that sometimes finding happiness isn't finding like your ultimate dream that is like the perfect thing. It's just something that you find by accident and it makes you happy all the same. Oh, also, of course, Chaerok's ending, he's become this famous dancer, and yeah, that's totally earned. That's what we wanted to see, right? He's a famous dancer, he comes back, and of course, I also love the very last shot, the very last scene where he's returned and he sees Mr. Shim across the like train tracks, I guess, or something, and they say hi to each other, but they do it through dance and practicing those moves that they knew. Oh shit, almost forgot. Then we have Blondie and Chaerok's other friend, and they're playing soccer and enjoying themselves and doing what they love. So in the end, I think it's not like necessarily about reaching your ultimate goal or dream. It's more about doing what you love, and that's what matters. Whatever level that is on, or in whatever capacity, right? Like Mr. Key doesn't become a famous ballerino, but he opens his own school and still manages to be around what he loves. I don't think that Blondie and the other friend are pro soccer players in Barcelona, but hey, they're still playing soccer competitively and they're still enjoying themselves and doing what they love. It's funny, I really don't have much to talk about with this ending. It's pretty much what I expected, but it's also everything I wanted. So again, I guess my only kind of gripe is with Yun-Ho. I wish that they would have at least just provided a little more evidence of her coming to the conclusion of enjoying her time at the radio station. But yeah, other than that, this show was just so good. It was so heartbreaking / heartwarming / tearjerker. It feel good, all of that. And I feel like this show might end up being a little underrated just because it's a little different than most K-dramas. It's not all about like a love story or some scandalous thing. It's just a feel-good story. And also, of course, it has an elderly person as one of the main characters. I guess that's not typical, but of course that doesn't mean it can't be amazing as well in its own right. And yeah, I just hope this show gets the recognition it deserves. I don't know about a season 2. I don't think that makes any sense. I think it wrapped up perfectly. I mean, what is season 2 gonna be? Mr. Shim's gonna be further into Alzheimer's, and yeah, there's no way there'd be a season 2. But that's what makes this show so good. It's like one season, compact, 12 episodes, the perfect package, the perfect pacing, everything wrapped up nicely in the end with a bow on top. And yeah, I think that's all I've really got to say. Big shout out to everybody that watched this show along with me and watched the videos every week. So to you guys and to anybody else who's finding this video and has seen this show, what did you guys think of the show? What did you think of the ending? Let me know in the comments. And with that being said, this is TwoTenEast, and I'm out.